Here's a look at a recap of your markets on this Friday, the 23rd day of May. All in all, another awful good week in the markets around the state and the nation this week. Grain markets were higher. Box beef cutout values higher. Futures higher. Feedlot trade higher. A neutral cattle and feed report. And auction prices steady to slightly lower, although there was no signs that the cattle market at the auction barns is jumping off a cliff, more just taking a bit of a breather. At least that's what it seems like at this point. Getting into some of those markets, we'll start off with the cattle and feed report. It was basically a non-market mover today as final official numbers came in really close to pre-report estimates. The on-feed number, 98.4 compared to the average pre-report guess of 98.5. Placements, 97.4 was the official number. That compares to the average analyst guess of 96.7. And marketings came in at 97.4 as well, compared to 96.7 of the average pre-report analyst guess. Taking a look at box beef cutout values, choice closed up $9.06 for the week, $361.55. Select was up $8.93 for the week at $351.22. Negotiated feedlot trade, of course, we do have the holiday shortened weekend next week. Kills will be shorter, and kills have been running awful slow lately anyway. Feedlot volume, at least as of the 2 o'clock cutoff time for the Friday report, not really near as much volume as we'd like to see, but prices were higher for the week. Texas ended up with 363 head, all at 220 live. Kansas, 3,990 head, 219 to 220. A few were all the way up to 229, but mostly that 219 to 220 mark. Nebraska, 17,411 head. Live sales from 229 to 231, mostly at 230. Dress sales from 360 mostly, all the way up to a few at 370. Iowa reported 15,077 head. Live sales there from 228 to 232, mostly at 230. Dress sales 360 up to 368. Again, most of those dress sales at 360. For the week, that'd make those live sales about $2 higher. The dress sales 1 to 2 higher. Taking a look at what happened at the auction barns around the state this week. When all said and done, going to have about 41,000 head of feeders that went through the auction barns. Compared to last week, the calves steady to about $5 lower. Yearlings, although awful short supply this time of year, they were mostly steady. Take a look at some of the stick-out sales from around. 43 head of 437-pound steers at Joplin Regional Stockyards at $490. 33 head of 506-pound steers at Kingsville sold at $424. The average statewide on those light 5-weight steers this week at $406. 30 head of 551-pound steers at Mocan sold at $410. 24 head, 634-pound steers at Kingsville, $393. A full load of 699-pound steers at Windsor brought $344. Had 22 head of 716-pound steers at Ozarks Regional Stockyards in West Plains sell at $335. The average statewide on those light 7-weights this week at $322. A full load of 764-pound steers at Callaway Livestock Center on Monday brought $318. A full load of 835-pound steers at Joplin Regional Stockyards, $299. Had 2 full loads of 885-pound steers at Callaway, so at $295. And then a full load of 929-pound steers at Tyna Livestock Auction, $285. The biggest draft of the week this week, 457 steers sold with 1 drop of the hammer, averaging 919 pounds. That was at Joplin Regional Stockyards. They brought $273.75. Taking a look at a couple stick-out drafts of heifers this week, 79 head of 533-pound heifers at West Plains, Ozarks Regional Stockyards, sold at $370. The average statewide for those light 5-weight heifers this week, $356. And then a full load of 730-pound heifers at New Cambria brought $321. The average statewide on those light 7-weight heifers this week at $309. Taking a look at the futures markets for the week, live cattle 358 to 460 higher. Lean hogs 30 cents to 262 lower, and feeders for the week 277 to 358 higher. On Friday, June live cattle closed at 215.80, up 17. August was down a nickel at 210.45. October at 208.10, down 12. Feeder cattle, August $300.37. That was up 60 cents. September at $299.35, up 72. October $297.35, up 90. Lean hogs for June, $98.30, down 40. July at $101.55, down 50. And August, $101.27, down 72. Turning our attention to the grain markets at the elevators around the state this week, soybeans gained 10 cents. Wheat was up 17 to 22, and corn 16 to 21 higher. On Friday, corn bids in the St. Louis region 480, Kansas City 429 to 467. Soybean bids, St. Louis 1073, Kansas City 1040 to 1085, and wheat bids, St. Louis 537 to 542, Kansas City at 537. On the board of trade for the week, soybeans 10 to 17 higher, wheat 18 to 21 higher, corn 15 to 17 higher. Kansas City wheat was up 23 to 24 cents, and soybean meal closed $4.30 to $5.80 higher. Taking a look at those Friday's closes. For the day, the grains did see some lower trends. However, as mentioned, they were higher for the week. July corn down 3.5 on Friday, 459.5. September 437 3/4, down 3 1/4. December at 450 3/4, down 2.5. July beans were down 7 1/4 on Friday at 1060 1/4. August at 1056, down 6.5. September down a nickel, 1041 3/4. November new crop beans closed Friday at 1050 1/2, down 4 3/4. Wheat for July down 2 cents, 542 1/2. September 558, down 2 1/2. December at 580 3/4, down 2 1/2. Soybean meal for July, $296.20, down $2.30 a ton. Soybean oil for July, $49.35 a hundredweight, up 24 cents. Final reminder, there are several auctions that will be closed early next week, so be sure to check with your local auction barn before you load up that trailer and head to town. With the Missouri Department of Agriculture, that's your farm news. This is Tony Hancock.